Welcome to today's deep dive. So, we're getting into something today that honestly affects you whether you realize it or not. I mean, you already have a personal brand.
Right, yeah. Whether you intentionally designed it or you just kind of let it happen by accident.
Exactly, it's out there. But what if you actually took total control of it? Like, what if you engineered it on purpose?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. And to figure that out, we are diving into Jules Marcoux' playbook. It's called Be the Brand, and it's basically the ultimate guide to building your personal brand. And his background is just wild to me.
Oh, it's fascinating. I mean, he didn't start out in some, fancy corporate incubator.
No, not at all. He started out at 16 as this aspiring rap star in Quebec. He went by J. Mark.
Right, GMR. And he actually bought studio equipment, made it to some massive venues in the province, and then he just completely pivoted.
Yeah, he took those same branding mechanics, which, let's be honest, the music industry is brutal for
Wow, that
branding.
was brutal.
Yeah, and he applied them to throwing these huge nightclub events, went from like 10 people to over 4,000. And eventually he becomes this best-selling marketing author and runs a solo agency just by treating himself as the business.
Exactly. Treating himself as the asset. That's the core truth here.
So our mission today is to extract the exact actionable initial steps you need to take right now to start this journey. We're going to talk about pinpointing your craft, figuring out your visual style, borrowing influence, and even handling controversy.
Which is a big one.
Massive. And of course, keeping your audience totally obsessed with your journey. But before you can market yourself, I mean, you got to know what you're marketing, right?
You do. And who is actually buying it? That foundational step is, well, it's where most people just face plant right out of the gate.
Yeah, so what's the first move?
The absolute number one question you have to ask yourself is, what specific craft do I want to be known for? And it's not about like a superficial lifestyle aesthetic.
Right, it's not just posting pictures of your coffee on Instagram.
Exactly. It has to be a measurable discipline. There's this Robin Sharma quote in the text that's really the North Star for all this. He says, "My work is my art, and my art is my life." Building a brand means focusing entirely on your native strengths.
Just going all in on what you're already good at.
Yes, taking it from good to great.
Yeah.
You cannot waste time trying to fix every little weakness.
Okay, let's unpack this because I feel like we're totally trained to do the exact opposite. Like in school, if you get an A in English and a C in math, they get you a math tutor.
Right, they want you well-rounded.
Exactly. But if you try to build a brand for everyone and be good at everything, it's like, well, it's like making a road trip playlist for your grandma, your teenage cousin, and a classical music conductor.
That sounds like a terrible car ride.
It's a nightmare. You just end up playing like elevator music to keep the peace, and nobody loves elevator music. But how do you reconcile that? Like having a highly specific niche but still wanting to be known by the masses eventually?
Well, look at the greats.
Yeah.
Look at Steve Jobs or Picasso. Jobs absolutely owned a highly specific niche of, tech entrepreneurship. Picasso owned this very specific polarizing art style.
Oh, that's true. They didn't start out trying to please everyone.
Right. They became so unbelievably great in that one lane that their appeal naturally bled into the mainstream. The masses are just attracted to greatness.
Right.
But you have to build that deep foundation first. You cannot please everyone.
Right.
Marcoux uses this great analogy in the book. He says you can't try to sell dog food to a cat. It just won't work, no matter how good the marketing is.
Makes total sense. So once you have that craft locked in and you know who your crowd is, how do you present yourself, like visually?
Well, every great brand has a highly recognizable look. Think about Apple.
Stark minimalism, right?
Exactly. Steve Jobs had the black turtleneck. Seth Godin has the bright orange and those specific glasses.
Yeah.
You have to define a unique visual style for yourself.
So we're talking a simple, versatile logo, the right colors.
Yeah, and you have to, quote, dress like $1,000,000, meaning dress like the top professional in whatever your specific field is. And please, invest in professional photos.
Oh man, bad photos are the worst.
They are. The author compares it to a restaurant menu. If a restaurant has crappy, poorly lit photos of their food on the menu, your brain just automatically assumes the food tastes bad.
Yeah, you lose trust instantly.
Exactly. But what's fascinating here is this tension between the visual side and the personal side.
What do you mean?
Well, visually, you want to look incredibly professional, right? But on the personal narrative side, you need to be totally vulnerable. You have to be unpolished about your personal flaws. It's an authenticity paradox.
Okay, wait, give me an example of that.
So say you're just starting your very first clothing line out of your bedroom. Do not brand yourself as a quote, serial entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah. People see right through that.
They do. It feels fake. Brand yourself truthfully.
Yeah.
You are someone building their first brand, navigating all the chaos that comes with it. Marcoux himself openly broadcasts that he never went to college.
Really?
Yeah, he never worked those entry-level corporate marketing jobs. He embraces it as his origin story.
That makes a lot of sense because people don't buy from a faceless, perfect corporate entity. I mean, they buy from people and, people have flaws.
Exactly. We connect with those jagged edges.
So, okay, looking the part and being authentic, that basically gets you to the starting line. But how do you actually keep growing? How do you turn those unique traits into, like, undeniable authority?
It requires relentless skill improvement. To be the best, you literally have to read what the best read.
We hear about reading habits all the time with these top performers.
Because it works. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading. Bill Gates reads a book a week. And Marcoux, he reads 2 books a week. You have to constantly feed your brain.
But just reading in your room doesn't build an audience. You have to get it out there.
Right. Which brings us to the hacks for building authority. One of his favorites is newsjacking.
Newsjacking. Okay, what is that?
It's basically jumping on breaking news within your specific niche. So when something huge happens, you immediately offer your expert breakdown of it. The algorithms are already pushing the topic, so you attach your brand to that momentum.
So people start looking to you for the updates. You become the filter.
Exactly. Another great tactic is guest blogging, like Neil Patel does. You write for established platforms, and you instantly borrow their credibility.
Ah, that's smart.
And you have to treat this all like a crazy scientist.
The crazy scientist.
Yeah, that's Marcoux's approach. Every single month, you need to test at least 2 entirely new ways to build your audience and 2 new ways to monetize.
2 every month. That's a lot of testing.
It is, but you look at the data, you double down on what actually works, and you ruthlessly cut the rest.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because I think people assume you have to build this authority entirely from scratch, like totally on your own. But you can actually borrow influence, right?
Absolutely. Influence is a transferable asset.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that story of Tai Lopez, where he invited all these huge social media influencers to his house. Combined, they had like 1 billion followers.
Right. He essentially just absorbed their clout by proximity.
Exactly. He didn't build a 1 billion follower reach by himself. He basically bought it with a party.
And Marcoux did something similar. When he released his book, he actually paid influencers who had millions of fans to post photos of themselves reading it.
Just bypassing the slow grind completely.
Exactly. You use other people's influence to jumpstart your own.
So, okay, let's say you've done this. You've built the authority. People are paying attention. But to reach true greatness, you can't just coast, right? You have to step out onto the edge.
You do. Because the middle is crowded and it's safe. Growth only happens when you are uncomfortable. You have to live on the edge. And what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it starts with how you handle resources. Instead of making a profit and immediately buying a nice car, you reinvest every single dollar back into the brand's growth.
Oh, like Amazon. Didn't they run without a profit for like years?
Years and years, yes. Just pouring it all back in. Or look at Kanye West. He famously tweeted about being $53 million in debt because he was self-funding his creative expansions.
That is some serious skin in the game.
It proves conviction. And another way to stay on the edge is embracing controversy. The playbook says, when everybody goes right, go left.
P.T. Barnum style. No such thing as bad publicity.
Exactly. As long as it isn't illegal or highly immoral. Remember the whole Starbucks red cup controversy?
Oh my gosh, yes. People lost their minds over a plain red cup.
Right. It offended a specific group of people. But the result? A photo of that cup was being shared on Instagram every 14 seconds. It completely dominated the culture and boosted sales massively. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really proves that if you want to stand out, you are going to get haters.
It's a mathematical certainty.
Right. If nobody hates what you're doing, you're playing it way too safe. You're just being generic elevator music again.
Exactly. Haters mean you've actually taken a stance that matters.
So we've pushed the boundaries, we've attracted this massive crowd, maybe upset a few people along the way. How do you keep that core audience engaged, like over the long term?
You have to keep the fire warm.
Yeah.
And that relies on this psychological concept called the mere exposure effect.
Okay, break that down for me.
It basically means humans naturally prefer things that are familiar. To build trust, you have to be consistently present. You have to be everywhere.
But how do you do that without burning out, like creating 50 new pieces of content a day.
You recycle content. You shoot one YouTube video, right?
Oh,
Then you cut a clip for Instagram. You turn a quote into a tweet, and you post that same idea on Facebook.
just slicing and dicing the same core idea.
Exactly. Look
Yeah.
at Justin Bieber. He started out just by posting, consistently, relentlessly on YouTube, under the name Kidral. He just stayed in front of people.
But relying on social media algorithms is super risky, isn't it? I mean, they change the rules all the time.
It's incredibly risky, which is why you have to own your audience. You have to build an email list.
Right. Move them off the rented land.
Yes, and you do that by giving things away for free. Marcoux gave away free chapters of his book to get emails. HubSpot, this is a crazy one. They gave away actual, physical, free teddy bears.
Wait, teddy bears? A software company?
Yes, if you downloaded their info, they sent you a bear. Because they understood that owning that direct email connection was worth way more than the cost of a stuffed animal.
So what does this all mean? It seems to me that a personal brand isn't a megaphone. It's not just shouting at people, it's a telephone.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, especially when you're starting out, you have to answer every single email, right? Like followers' photos, send personal thank yous. You really build it one human at a time.
You do. And you also need to know what they're saying when you hang up the phone. Marcoux talks about Googling yourself every single day.
Every day. That sounds a little, obsessive.
It's a Jeff Bezos concept, actually. Your brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. If you are Googling yourself and checking the sentiment, you have no idea what your actual brand is out in the wild.
Wow. Okay, so let's try to pull this all together. Building a brand is really a deliberate roadmap.
Yeah.
You define your highly specific niche. You embrace your real, authentic story with all its flaws. You level up your skills. You step onto that edge by breaking the rules. And then you fiercely protect your community with, like, real connection.
This raises an important question. Who gives you the permission to do all this? To completely reinvent yourself?
Nobody's, right?
Exactly. Look at Lil Dicky. The text brings him up as an example. He went from being a regular copywriter at an ad agency to a famous comedic rapper. No one told him he could do that. He just decided. You are the master of you. You define when it's time to change the narrative.
That is incredibly empowering. And it really leads to this final thought that Jules Marcoux leaves us with. We get so caught up in the day-to-day metrics, right? The likes, the views.
Oh, constantly.
But he says building a brand is about playing a much longer game. We're talking 20, 30, even 100-year scale.
100-year scale. That changes everything.
It really does. If your personal brand is ultimately the legacy you leave behind, something that outlives your current job, your business, and eventually what is the one single idea you want attached to your name a century from now?
That is the ultimate filter for every decision you make today.
Something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.